Hi everyone, this is our best bits episode. It's the one that costs the least money. James has been sitting in the gods watching what's been going on and has the opportunity to cherry pick pieces from each one of the episodes. It's a great opportunity for people who haven't seen any of the podcasts. If they say, oh, you're with Joel Ratner, or your daughter talks about you wetting yourself in the Eiffel Tower. So all of these things give you a little taste of what we're talking about. I haven't seen these before, so I was flying blind. So I don't know how mean you've been.
No, I haven't been mean. I was going to be mean. And then I listened back to the Lula episode, and she basically, for 56 minutes of about a 60-minute conversation, just fucking mugged you off, didn't she? So yeah, I was like, my job there is done. Yeah. So what I wanted to do with this was to go back through the archives and look back at the episodes and find out what you had taken from the episodes. Because obviously these are people that you know really, really well. But if someone who's listened to 60 minutes, there might be some more context that you can give to the content, or there might be something that you learn from a particular episode, because these are your good pals, but maybe you saw them in a different context or light. Maybe 100%. You didn't. Maybe I picked shit clips. We will find out. But hopefully not. So you ready for the first one?
I'm guessing out of 10, this is a strong 4.
This is going to be a strong 4 at best, a likely 3.2, I would say. Right, so first clip that I picked, right?
And thank you for doing this, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Effort, yeah.
Took a long time to get on, didn't it? I thought I was going to make my star break, and I got to spin the wheel of doom, and that was it. And then in the last episode, we didn't even fucking spin the wheel, did we? So there we go. Anyway, so the first one of the episodes, and the first episode of the first ever series was Dean. Now, obviously, Dean Kelly is a good pal of yours. And for those who are in your circle of influence, they probably know Dean, because you and Dean work quite closely together. But what really came out from that episode, from you like drilling Dean, he's got 1 or 2 conspiracy theories. On a minute by minute basis, they get worse and worse. And if you looked at his Instagram, for example, you'd be like, oh, he's one of them chemtrail fucking nutcases, or one of those stop oil anti-protest guys. But he's actually a seriously sharp operator, isn't he?
So Dean's a humongously hard worker. We didn't really talk about the time when he was breaking down iron baths in a council estate, and then coming to work, cleaning his gym, and then trying to do a day's work, and then we had to look after him.
You had to stop him working so hard, you told me over lunch.
Yeah, we had to stop him working so hard, because he went from being super fit to it just looked like a shadow of the man. But people don't know, and Dean ran 2, if not 3, arguably, of the fastest growing, most successful education recruitment businesses of all time. So he was fantastic when he worked for us. Took a while for the penny to drop, but once it dropped big time. And we gave him guarantees, and we looked after him, and then suddenly he was winning stuff that he shouldn't be winning. We took it off him, and he had a hissy fit. But in the grand scheme of things, the guy had masses and masses and masses of ambition. So although people might think he's a bit Fruit Loop, everybody I know in the world who is absolutely brilliant has got something about them. So Dean's got a Rolls Royce, he's got a Ferrari, he's got a big house, he's got a swim, which he changed his swimming pool into a boxing gym. But
of course he did.
Of course he did. But he's a man on a mission, and he's investing really wisely. He's investing big time in tech and recruitment. So as an individual, self-made, extremely brilliantly clever, joy to be a business partner. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to take the piss out of his randomness.
No,
so when we talk about...
I think he's actually a good poster boy for the conspiracy theorist revolution, because it has always been that, people with... And you said it to him more than a few times. Like you've got your tinfoil hat on. But actually a guy who is outwardly successful and quite, I would say, inwardly successful, very sure of himself and assured on his own character. But he's got to the level of life maybe where he doesn't give a fuck of anybody else's opinion.
He trashed Rishi and sent him a letter and
told everyone about it.
And just by association, we both got thrown out the Tory party. But
oh really?
Oh yeah. But from advising number 10 to being thrown out, that took 3 years. So the guy's an absolute legend, and I don't think we talk about how much success that Dean's actually had because it's supposed to be a tale of the unexpected, because most people in recruitment know how exceptional he is. So he's definitely in the top 0.5% aisle of the top 1%. So Dean's an absolute ledge. Let's play the clip, because I think this was really funny. He was really good. Special, exceptional, one of a kind, deliberately different, investable, and to be fair, Dean, I mean, you're proper sort of godlike in this shit.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Chuck out something that people might say, here are 2 or 3 things that they can hang their hat on based on this bloke who looks deep into fucking everything.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't get deep into everything like in business like that. I get enough to act on. I think if you're waiting for perfection, you've missed the boat, right? So in business, I'm like, when it's outside of my remit, it's not something I live and breathe every single day, then I want to know about it. I don't like to trust people solely, and I haven't been to my doctor since 1998, so I don't trust doctors.
Tells me about. He's really upset.
I don't trust doctors.
Falling out.
General practitioners are generally practicing on you, and they're getting it wrong, right? So, and that's the way I look at it. They're generally practicing. Yeah, come in. I'm still learning. Let's have a go. Yeah, looks like could be that. Take some of that. But don't read the side effects. So I'm very like that, and I've been a very healthy human being because of that. So, but where business is concerned, I'm a lot more emotional, a lot more driven.
They went to uni.
Who did? Yeah, but the university is the biggest con pushed on society today. It's an indoctrination into the long journey.
There we go. Right, go on, crack on.
So I won't go.
Can I just say this is 0% beer, but I need it.
You need both of those.
Strap in.
No, I won't go into that. But I feel the whole push towards education in that way is just to keep this myopic view.
I don't care now. Toulouse has just finished it.
Look, if you need it for a professional qualification of some kind, like a doctor, which if you go back through the whole curriculum, but the whole curriculum is written. So the education system was started by Rockefeller. The pharmaceuticals institution and the medical institutions were pushed by Rockefeller. The whole curriculum had to be agreed by them. So the curriculums that now go on in medical school are basically pushed by pharmaceutical companies. Right. So today I heard on the radio coming in that they've announced this new drug that Elon Musk sits behind, which is an injection for weight loss. Right. When you start to look into that and the differences on how long you stay on it for and the damage it causes to your body, why can't you just eat less and exercise, move more? It's quite simple. Why aren't they pushing that? Because there's money in pharmaceuticals. There's not money in healthy people. So I do look at certain things a different way.
Okay, you get
business.
Literally,
I'll go back to
because your nuts is.
I know my nuts side.
All right, okay.
Right, okay.
So I want 3 things that people can take away from this. By the way, fucking brilliant, mate. 3 things that people can take away from this that they go, all right, okay. So is it research, act? Is it believe in yourself? Don't read between the lines.
3 things. Right.
Yeah.
Purpose, vision, belief. Right. And so you got to have a purpose. You got to have something you feel purposeful about, that you really want to do, that you really want to. So it might be going, a lot of people just say, I want to go start a recruitment company, I want to make a bit of money. And we've seen it. Majority of lifestyle, right? They'll be lifestyle.
What do we say? The first thing a recruitment business leader does is give it a name. The second thing is work on their exit strategy. And they don't realise there's a 20-year gap.
And actually history is written by winners. When you look at the actual pure percentage who took money and walked away, it's pretty bloody tiny. There's 44,000 agencies in this country. So you've got to have a purpose because when it's...
What if we only got 300 idiots? We're like Sparta.
But we have the best. Okay, that's the difference, right? Yeah, we don't let everybody in.
Yeah.
Think of that long list of people.
Okay, is that the narrative today?
That's the narrative.
Yeah, you can't get in.
You can't get in. It's exclusive unless you text Gary and
offer to pay him for non-exec work. You generally just walk through the front door.
So you can see what I mean, right? The guy is really, 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 really smart, and he has really good business ideas, and he actually summarizes things perfectly. Simplicity is absolutely brilliant.
Because I met Dean on an app called Clubhouse about 3 years ago, and there's loads of random people who were just, a lot of people were just talking rather than have ever actually done anything. And then this random guy popped up, and my pal, who's actually in recruitment, was like, oh, you know Dean? Dean's a legend. And I was like, okay. And then I looked into it. So he was the youngest ever CEO of a publicly listed company. Then he bought it back, sold bits off, then took it public again. So he's a real sharp operator, isn't he?
Yeah, he also gets up 5 minutes before he goes to bed. but enough about Dean, because otherwise you think oh, the
Dean fan club.
Yeah.
Right, next guest we had on was an international footballing legend who accidentally became the coach of the footballing nation of Costa Rica because he was their secret weapon in understanding European football, wasn't he?
He's 6'2" and he weighs about 28 stone. So literally, if that's a secret fucking weapon, I'd like to see I'd like to see the lamppost he's hiding behind. So Neil Sillett's been a mate for years. He was part of the gang when we ran the Football Agent. He was the guy who helped me put Rob Lee into West Ham. When I said help me, they did it all. I just got the football shirts and they basically kept me happy by giving me merch.
Right, okay, sure. Like a small child in the corner.
It was. As long as Papa writes checks and they give me gifts. Hopefully you're going to play the clip. I have no idea, but hopefully you're going to play the clip where we talked about the data and data science behind managing the under-rates, the over-rates, the after-rates, as I called it, because he's not shy of his food. Never walked past a Greg's in his life. We were
all the insights and wisdoms, and you have to bring Greg's Bakery into this.
It's a smart business. So we were talking specifically about hiring great talent and how do you spot talent? And you were saying earlier today that it's really hard actually to recruit.
Yeah.
But people just think, you get a CV, chuck it over the fence and then the magic happens and we nick 20%. It's really hard, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
But how do you spot that in talent with young kids and so young? Why did I just watched the Beckham documentary.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
And why did Alex Ferguson choose, of all the players in the world, to take David Beckham 13, 14 into the changing room?
Yeah, properly under his wing, wasn't he? Yeah.
Under his wing and being looked after. So how do you spot that? And we would talk about the first quartile of the year, because you're bigger and you're stronger.
That's it.
And those kids do well, but at 21, everything changes. And then you look at your talent. It's not about how fast you run, it's how quickly you change direction. And it really resonated with me in terms of the recruitment industry about the things that you actually measure. So the cadence and the competencies that you might have had 3 years ago, is that
right down there.
Yeah, someone's legs falling off.
They're always dropping legs down here. We are next to Harley Street.
Their prosthetics falling off. So the idea about what competencies are fit for purpose in the moment, as opposed to what they always were. And it was quite interesting that he had such great insight. So he's got multiple jobs. So from Costa Rica, he's now got the hardest job in recruitment. He's now the talent scout for Scottish FA. So Billy Gilmore, a lot of blanks. So
you said in the episode as well.
Yeah, and then
he didn't even blink. He just sat stone-faced and even confirm nor deny.
And then he was talking about how they train scouts to be scouts these days. So it's less than a gut feel. There is data and stats and
from like 8-year-old kids. They're looking at data. Yeah,
from 8-year-old kids. So I think we should look at this because it was such a revelation, but we talk about this all the time. And we also mention log burning stoves, but he denies that to this day. He was the king of log burning stoves. Press play.
Any similarities between what you do to spot talent and the data and numbers, because it becomes so much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
I teach people how to scout talent.
Right.
You teach people how to scout talent.
Yeah.
How do you do it? What are the go-to? What are the things that we could potentially just leverage from your infinite wisdom on this?
I think there's 3 different parts to it now. So youth academy scouting, totally different to the next development phase or...
what age group is that, by the way?
I would say under 8 through to 16.
It's madness, isn't it?
It's madness, yeah. And I'm not great at under 8s, but we're doing a lot of research.
After 8s.
Hey, boom, boom.
What, you're too far away from the clap.
Behind you.
See what I mean? Yeah.
So that's a specific, but our numbers here are going a bit technically, but the first quartile signings in academies is 48% of all of them. So boys born between September...
Because they're bigger.
bigger, stronger. So, and it's massive. But then when they get to 20, the numbers are similar. So the amount of drop off from those first quartiles. So the top scouts can see the potential of the younger ones, and they'll be the ones. Although a good first quartile player will always be a good be a good player if he's a really good player.
Now, a friend of mine did some work with Man United, and they would talk about some of the technicalities of how they measure players and their stats. And these days, it's not always to do with, because they don't want them to be fast and athletic, but it's not to do with how fast they are, it's how quickly they change direction.
Agility, yeah.
Yeah, so what age group do things kind of change where you look at measuring the grown-up stuff?
Yeah, so between 17 and 21, and then older. So now so much of it is done on video. I would say Brighton, Brentford do 90% of their initial assessment through metrics, algorithms. Even Tony Bloom's leagues, he has graded leagues that come through. So Ecuador's proving one.
Sorry, it's Tony Bloom.
He's the owner of Brighton.
Okay.
And his business algorithms have been replicated in his club Talent ID.
Right.
So a lot of that will be the metrics he puts in, which means a good number will enable him to say, right, okay, we now need eyes on this guy. His numbers are stacking up good in Ecuador. And you go, well, people would previously say, well, why would we ever look in Ecuador or Bolivia? But whatever he's putting in, and it's secretive, the numbers in Casado, Inciso, people like that hit the ball ground running, they prove that he's right.
So what things are they? Okay, just dish the dirt. Give us a secret. So what things are people looking at?
One of the things you mentioned, agility, physicality, intensity of their runs.
Anything that ends in a T.
It depends what language you're speaking. So because they'll relate to the top Premier League players. So he'll take research from what makes a top Premier League player, put that into the system, and then whatever league they turn up in, if their numbers start to be similar, then they'll get flagged up, and then scouts will watch them 6 times on video. They've signed 2 or 3 without even going and see them live. So that's breaking the mold, definitely.
Can you tell we're friends? Right, you can tell we go way back.
Only a friend can get away with that conversation.
Yeah, no, it was. He's just been such a genius bloke, and he's just given me so much knowledge. He actually created some of the processes that we put into S3 about. So when he's talking about his life in football and how they measure people, how they look after people, how they correct people and change behaviours. So he's been massively influential in my life. I don't like telling him about it.
No, you cover it well. You cover your deep love for your friends well. I'll tell you what, actually, across all of the people that you've had on in Series 1, there's one trait which goes through all of them, as well as being like super successful. They've all got such a level of humility. Like you wouldn't, like if you pinned Neil down and said like how brilliant you are, it'd make him fucking incredibly uncomfortable to tell him that to his face. And everyone they almost dance around the success they've had like it was by accident. Oh, we're just the right place at the right time.
See, I think that's really random because I'm a really bad loser, but I'm an even worse winner. So I might be the exception.
You attract your opposites.
I might be the exception to the rule. Are we talking about Gerald next?
Yes, I think we should. We've talked about great successes, and this is a guy who had a great success, but then obviously...
I don't think I got that from this, though. I really think... look, we were talking at lunch about it, so I'm going to nick your line, but I think we learnt more about how his hunger... And he was quite aggressive, and I'm not sure with a small A or a big A, how he basically wanted to achieve what he wanted to achieve. And he took what was a quiet, passive PLC and turned it into a absolute fucking monster that was just biting up and eating up and chewing up people and say, of course I'll be your friend, of course you can have a job for life. 12 years later, fuck you. God.
And you're going to hear that in this clip a couple of times.
Is that the one?
The M&A strategy was be nicey. One of the instances with H.M. Samuel, he went to the founder's mum and said, oh yeah, I'll look after it. She's like, yeah, he's the wrong person to run it. Oh yeah, I'll work alongside him, install him as chairman. And 12 weeks later, but he went into it knowing. So I think, again, Gerald's got this thing where it's like, oh, this accidental bumbling mistake that lost him $1 billion, but he's actually...
sharp,
quite cutthroat.
Oh, but it was sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
So I think
still is, to be fair.
Gerald's story is not the end story that everyone does a rap nut. I think the story that came out of that whole episode was what it took to be proper top tier, and a household name. Isn't it great when you own the whole of the high street?
And people didn't even know, did they? That's another thing that came out of the clip. H.M. Samuels, Ernest Young.
Ernst Young, yeah.
And they're the accountants, aren't they? Ernst Jones, that's the...
Ernst Young, yeah, no, he had an accountancy firm.
Ratners.
And Elizabeth Arden, and there was loads, weren't there?
Yeah, interesting clip. Again, I think from the guy who's sometimes, I guess, mocked for the mistake that he made, and look, what a fool. Actually, this really gives you the other side of the coin, that he's no mug.
No, it's brilliant. And he rides a bike. Quite a common theme across all of my friends.
They all ride bikes. If you're looking for a success hack, get yourself down Halfords and get yourself an Apollo.
Or go somewhere nice and buy a good bike.
Such a snob.
Yeah, but bless you. Bless you for trying. Go get yourself a Raleigh chopper.
Here's the clip.
The clever idea was to own the high street. So when the other chains weren't doing well, you were sitting there and you basically... How many brands did you have in the end?
Well, we had Watches of Switzerland, we had H. Samuel, we had Ernest Jones, we had Zales, we had Leslie Davis, we had even non-jewellery Salisbury's. And of course, we had 1,000 shops in America as well. We were one of the few retailers to succeed on the other side of the Atlantic.
With the same formula?
No, that was the key. Everybody uses the same formula when they go to another country, and it's always a mistake, because even though they speak the same language, totally different market, totally different way of buying things, much more receptive to the hard sell in America than they are in the UK. If you take anything from here to America, you'll screw up. So we bought local management and expanded their business.
I'm going to come back to that, because that's really important. How did you manage? So you're basically really hurting some brands on the high street, and then you've gone to try and buy them. That must have been a frosty reception.
Very difficult. It was a very frosty reception, and there was H. Samuel was the big one, because they had 450 shops. I'd now grown to 150 shops, but their shops were much bigger than ours. They were in better locations. They had a better name. They were the Britain's largest, best known jewellers, and I wanted to buy them. The problem was that the family owned over 50%. So a lot of people were trying to buy them because they were a property play. They actually owned, which is ridiculous. They owned, in those days when shops were out in the high street, a lot of them, they owned the freeholds. They weren't even paying rent. But they were still not making much of a profit, which was unbelievable when they're not paying rent. Just shows you how badly they were run and how badly we hit them. So even though he had over 50% of the shares, it was a public company, and even though the shareholders couldn't do anything about it, he was becoming more and more unpopular, because he said, why can't you do what Ratners are doing? You're being hit left, right and centre. So in the end, I went to see him, and I said, we should merge. I thought that was a good opening line, rather than I should buy you out. But he just threw two fingers at me. I went away. But then I planted an article in the Daily Telegraph saying that H. Samuel should sell to Ratners because they have no management. And the strange thing is that his mother phoned me up, and she said...
Stop picking on my boy.
No, exactly the opposite. She says that Anthony shouldn't be running it. You're absolutely right. He's an idiot. And sometimes you just cannot believe a phone call that you get, that your own mother would say. So anyway, she sold me. She couldn't sell me Anthony's shares, her son's, but she could sell me her 27%. So I bought her 7% of the shares. I then went back to Anthony and I said, we should really do a merger. You can be the chairman, I'll be the chief executive. We can call it H. Samuels, I don't mind. And I gave in to every single thing because I just wanted that deal. Yeah. I made every concession. I spent time with him. I was really nice to him. And then I fired him. So that was not very nice from my point of view, but it was the only way that I could do it. And I had to take legal advice because you couldn't fire him on day one because he could have sued you. You had to work with him for 3 months, which was a nightmare. But I worked with him for 3 months and then got legal advice and fired him.
And did you get his shares at that time?
Yeah, well, because we bought the company. Yeah, right. It was the acquisition. He agreed to the acquisition on the basis that he was the chairman and I was the chief executive. So I'd already bought the business.
Right. And were you going to multiple banks at that time to raise the capital?
No, we're a public company, and the beauty of a public company is you just issue shares to acquire businesses. I've always, in my later stages of life, I've always looked back envy of the days when you can just issue equity to acquire businesses rather than get into debt. It's surely the best way of expanding rather than organic, which is very expensive.
He's still dry though, isn't he? Yeah. Literally, he doesn't give me an easy ride with all this stuff, and he pushes back, and it's not, you know, I thought it was really lovely. He chose to do a podcast with me here, and he told Nigel Farage that he couldn't make the time. So he's really,
in the exact same room.
In the exact same room. He said he couldn't get here
on principle.
But but he doesn't give anyone an easy ride. He doesn't say yes just to appease and please anyone. The man's got an opinion.
Do you know who I would love to have a conversation with? Is his wife. The person who said to him after 7 years?
Get out of bed.
Get out of bed or I'm fucking gone.
Yeah,
and and that's when he discovered the bikes, wasn't it? When he sort of got out and said that later in the episode. Go check out the full episode if you didn't hear it.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And how he basically sold vapor, and the only reason he got funding for it was because the bank manager had to say yes because his wife had already bought shares in the company, and there wasn't a company. So that was quite funny.
Smart guy.
Yeah, he's a really smart guy.
Talking about other smart people, another person that you had on was your pal, the royal correspondent, Robert Jobson. I don't know what you came into this conversation expecting. I thought he might go rogue on you, and I thought that the poacher was going to turn into the gamekeeper at one point, and I was like, how are you going to handle this? But he was actually he was quite kind to you, wasn't he? Which I was not expecting.
Well, to be fair, on Monday this week, it was the National Press, UK Press Ball, and he gave me tickets. I was his +1+1. And I've still got these massive red eyes, right? I'm still really, really suffering with hay fever and some sort of eye infection. It's gone really well. I'm very attractive under these glasses. And he must have called me 15 times, said, get here, get here, get here, get here, get here. So there's a proper Chelsea mate, a really good pal. And I thought he was very kind to me, to be fair. But he always had said that I was pretty much unfairly treated by the press. You know, I'm not that caricature they say, but he was really interested talking about I think that the press in the UK genuinely are good eggs. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to actually present the news as factually as they possibly can. One, because they don't want to get sued, but two, they want to keep their reputation.
Yeah.
Keep their powder dry. Don't say anything that isn't true. Don't say anything that isn't provable. And then you got the tabloid hacks and the new age people coming out with this fake news shit.
Yeah.
And none of it's held to account.
TikTokers just door stopping people.
And anyone who's got a camera feels that they're paparazzi.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I mean, we didn't even talk about it, but I remember just speaking to Carol, and Catherine was being absolutely called every name under the sun as she's walking to her car one day because they were trying to get a raise from her. And it was fucking horrific, the things they're saying to her. Just to get a raise, just to get an eyebrow, just to get a different look, just to get a stare. And it's head down. And he talks about that whole thing about press intrusion and what is and isn't true.
I'm so sorry.
Brilliant. Yeah, that hay fever was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, you've said about it all day, and I think it's sitting in his chair.
Yeah, must be. So I think Rob was really a good fun with it, a really good sport. But I do think it demonstrates the difference between a professional person who's had a career. He was on stage talking and introducing the whole of the press ball awards. that demonstrates the quality and the high profile that the guy's got versus someone who's there just trying to just do a hatchet job on people. So no, it's quite interesting for someone. You know, I love Rob. I think he's a fucking really good bloke, and we go to football together. But
talented guy as well.
And how talented? Yeah,
talented guy in an industry which is generally sneered at, but even like he was saying, you know, for good reason sometimes.
Yeah,
he said 80. I think he says in the further on in the episode, like 85% of the time, said I think we do a good job and we get it right, but we do get it wrong.
Yeah,
and that's what he said about you. Is like in that instance, you got hung out to dry.
Yeah,
and quite wrongfully.
But to be fair, you got to go through a whole hour of the episode to actually get that bit.
The apology comes at the end.
At the end, yeah, that's brilliant.
But here is Robert talking about what he thinks of the current fake news pandemic.
What's your opinion about all this fake news or the fake news about fake news?
Well, I think it's inevitable. I think. Well, this is the problem. I mean, I've covered war zones, and I've been, you know, Sierra Leone and Afghan, Iraq, all these places where you've covered the stories, and truth, of course, is the first casualty of any situation like that, or inevitably, because the sides are taken, and that's always a bit of a worry when, if you're embedded, you can't write certain things. But I think that the most important thing is that you know, what I think is dangerous is when the state can in any way really influence a story, and we've seen it time and time again recently with fake news. And if you look at, I mean, I'm not I'm not against Trump in any way, but I think his bullying tactics that he had with the media, and he would spread what I would think was a lot of just complete, you know, nonsense. And that's a danger, because, you know, people can only, and now we have all these issues with people, particularly when it comes to voting times and things like that, where, you know, they're putting out stuff online and on different platforms which have got no guidance or no restrictions on whatsoever, and people believe it's true. I mean, you know, and I think there's a lot of doubting of the news, and you can understand that when it comes to the platforms that the stuff's out there on. But newspapers and news generally and online news platforms do their best to get it right, which is why I find the continual slagging off of newspapers and the news organisations pretty sad, because I think actually on the whole newspapers do it quite well.
So I've been on the other side of it.
Well, no, you did experience something that was completely wrong and made up.
And you get beaten up for stuff.
Yeah, that was wrong.
And shit stinks. But what kind of checks and balances are there these days?
Well, I mean,
because if you see something on Twitter...
Not a lot, frankly. I mean, that's the trouble. If you see something on Twitter and it's put out against you, or it's said in a place where they're protected, there's not a lot you can do about it, apart from try to get your point of view across. So I think in your particular case, it was, you know, it turned out to be complete baloney. You got tarred with it, and it was complete nonsense. You know, it was, you know, someone asking you a question, you answering it, and saying go down to the docks. And it wasn't exactly what you were portrayed to be. So I hear what you say, but I think that things have improved, and I think quite radically over the last 10 years. Yeah.
So. I mean, Rob's a heavyweight in many ways. He basically talks with clarity. He talks with knowledge. He talks from a place of experience. But he talks, you know, he's a big lad.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about?
He's a larger than life character in every way, isn't he?
I can just see the picture here, because literally for the way he filled a chair versus Logan, that's your chalk and cheese.
It looked like it got swallowed up. So your next guest, Logan, how do you pronounce his name? Naidu?
Naidu.
Naidu. Not even kind of close. Sorry, Logan, if you're watching this.
Naidu.
I could.
Yeah. To be fair, he told me at the time I pronounced his name wrong for 10 years.
Oh, well, at least he held you in such high regard that it took him a decade to tell you. But this was a guy who, right, the reason why I picked this clip to play to everybody is I wanted to get more of your insight on this fella, because obviously when you're sat in the chair interviewing the person, your job is to make them look and feel like a rock star and draw their story out. But I wanted to flip the tables with this one, because Logan is someone that just before the preceding part of this clip, he talks about how he had cancer. And he's just his wife was 6 months pregnant, so he's going through horrific radiotherapy with a newborn baby, and that's when I think you sort of came into his world, and he was looking for sort of advisory and non-exec sort of direction. and you said that he just looked you in the eye and he said, I'm gonna make everybody safe. What are you like? What do you want to do with the company? He's like, I want to make everybody safe. And what's the difference with someone like that who's gone on to now have a company worth £100 million and north of that? What's the difference that you see in those sorts of people than the majority that you sit and chat to?
It was he got the business got a check for 109 million, and they still own it, and they're going again. And he's basically just put somebody above him, so he's now become chairman. He's got a CEO working for the business. So he's working on exit strategy already, and I think there's another piece of news. Probably by the time this goes out, it might have happened or about to happen. So Logan's different gravy. So come from a investment and VC background and consultancy. Logan was a different fish. So he's not one of your loud, bombastic.
Do you spot it straight away?
Oh, the thing is that if Logan says he's going to kill you, he probably will. If you're down the pub says, I'll kill you, they probably won't, right? Logan's got this dry sense of delivery, which like you should be scared of. I will hurt you.
I think there, in the clip you're going to play, his glass is full. And I think for the sake of the clinking of the glass at the beginning, he took the tiniest sip, and then you said that's probably your calorie allowance for the day.
Yeah.
To which he did not correct you.
No,
so it's quite a driven fella.
You should see his back. It's unbelievable. He's working with the best dietitian and PT on the planet, and it's just unbelievable. I started working with him. He gave up with me. So Logan is incredibly bright, really into his faith, massively into his family, and from the moment he said, I need to take life slightly more serious, or significantly more seriously now, and I need to make sure my family is left, with whatever happens to me, they're left to be safe. And he just basically took a very structured, grown-up, pacey approach to doing things. So he said, I haven't got the time in the world, so I've got to do everything really, really fast. So I can't afford to make mistakes. I've got to do it right. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, you keep talking about KPIs and drivers and culture where it's cool to be good. He goes, what are you on about? Can you explain some of these things? So
he's already doing very, very well, but had none of that stuff in play.
They did, but it just was a bit freestyle. And
right.
It was that. But when you put structure into something, it's easier for new people to come into the business where it's got a structure and a process,
sure,
and a format, and then everybody in the business knows what good looks like, so they expect praise at this point, as opposed to just working really hard, doing jack shit, not achieving anything. It's still expecting praise. So they put loads of structure around what they were doing, and by doing that early doors, 5 years down the line, they were very investable because people understood there's a method. So if you can do that in this area, could you do that in 4 other areas? Could you do that in 4 other countries? Could you do that in 40 other countries? And if you were to acquire business that didn't have that structure, put it into your process, and then you can reduce some of your cost of operation. Your capex then gets multiplied by more businesses just than a few. And he just got that because of his finance background. So Logan was incredibly smart. I wouldn't say he's a softie. I would say that he gives people a chance, but if you fail, you're gone. So if you want to take ownership and accountability, just be fucking good. And if you are really good, he'll give you an opportunity to go faster. So he kind of took down the speed cameras. He's a bit of a poster boy of what is possible if you take life really seriously.
But how many people have sat down with you in like NED roles and said that they're serious and they want to do this and that they've got a bit of traction and that they're going to go? I imagine everyone...
Yeah, but nobody ever...
what was the difference with him?
Okay, so he worked on the business all day long. He didn't really work in it. I wouldn't call Logan a recruiter.
Right. He's a business.
I've got loads of people that out recruit Logan.
Right.
I've got very few that outbeat him as a business leader. So he went to work on himself. So I'm not... I think I'm putting words in his mouth, but he reads like philosophy books, and he looks at things in a very scientific way. He doesn't read like your average business books, but I don't like business books or people who write books about business, or even though I'm writing one myself, because they all contradict each other. So he's got his own philosophy, he's got his own values, he's very strict, he's got a very high moral compass. That's what's right. Do that, I will reward you.
And he just gets to work.
And he goes to work on it.
What's it like when someone has called out the future, told you their roadmap, and especially when they've come from a place of being diagnosed
three times in my entire career.
Really?
That someone's ever actually said.
What's it feel like to see them do it though? When you've kind of like had, because you're kind of like a bit of an uncle to some of these.
Okay,
like,
no, I've had no impact on Logan apart from being a fan.
Okay.
I'm a cheerleader.
Right.
I'm the Dallas Cowboys. Whoa, give us the D. Right.
That's just given me so many horrific visions in my mind right now.
But so Logan's done that all by himself, and I can't take any credit for that. But although,
what's it like to cheerlead then when you see someone who's called it?
I'll be honest, in the book, I take full credit. So Logan's he's the man on the mission, and he's absolutely exceptional. It's really, really, really buzzing. Since having that conversation with Logan, I shit you not, I've started 3 companies. Since having that conversation with me and him, I thought, fuck it, you lazy twat.
Really?
Yeah. And it started me just thinking, I always think that everyone should start one new business at least a year. So one new business, an extra business, something extra. Now, when we were at S3, I was doing maybe 3 to 6 a quarter. New divisions, new profit centers, new companies. And I just lost my way. You know, people spend a lot of money to have me as an advisor to remind them of things they used to do. Now, Logan inspired me. So that's the joy of being amongst a network of really great people that people give you back. Watch this clip, right? And you tell me if you think he's serious.
It was proper jaw-dropping stuff when you said, I'm going to look after everyone around me and I'm going to make a fortune. Probably wasn't, I'm going to make a fortune, I'm going to make sure everyone's safe, because you don't talk in those terms. But you have made an absolute fortune, and you've grown something which most businesses are aware of and look really certainly impressed by you and the business. And there's still loads more that you can do with it. What were the fundamentals of taking, right, I'm going to go and do this, I need to get triggered, I need to do something? What were the fundamentals that made that happen or came to fruition?
I think, look, if we look at the whole industry, what I love about the industry, most people are actually pretty driven, right? And the starting point for, I don't think what we've done is right for everyone. You advise a lot of companies, I advise a couple. The starting point is what's right for you in your business, right? It's not growth for growth's sake or talking about an exit might not be right for you because this might be your forever baby, right? I talk about, maybe we talk about this all day long. My mate I play tennis with every Sunday, he picks me up in a Bentley, and he's a one-man band, bills brilliantly out of a small Regis office, and he says, look, I get to drop my girls off at school every day. One of them's an outboarding school, so I say one of them. I come in at 10, goes to the gym for 2 hours a day. He does the old pretty when I say when, I say who, and he says, that's my model, right? And I love my life, and I'm going to do this till I'm 75. I was like, fair play to you, Zach. And there's probably quite a few people like that who dream of, maybe selling the business for X in the future or whatever. But the reality to get there, you can't be the guy that comes in 10 every day, right? And can't be the person that goes 2 hours in the gym because everyone's watching you. And so, I think for me, key ingredients have been very clear plan. We started off saying we want to make a 20 million value business, so broadly 3 million EBITDA. We said that we'd carve out 20% for staff, we'd try and create a sales culture, and just relentless discipline. I think, and I honestly genuinely believe this. I think I'm the poster child for what can be done in the industry because I'm not a natural salesperson. I'm definitely not an extrovert. I've had a plan and you can execute the plan, and that's what this industry is brilliant at. All right, if you've got a clear plan, don't let anyone or anything get in the way of that. And these are actually, in their heart, pretty simple businesses mechanically, right? You're not holding inventory. It's just hire great people, train them up, get out of the way.
So, did you think he was serious?
Yeah, I thought he was serious from the second that he turned up in the best iron shirt I've ever seen, and he left with even less creases than 0.
Right.
don't get it.
And to be fair, he came with an umbrella in the hottest day.
Yes, he did.
And what happened 20 minutes later?
Fucking pissed it down.
Unbelievable.
It was blue sky and 30 degrees, and you ripped him for it. And didn't he text you as well? Said, I told you need the umbrella.
Yeah.
He's some sort of oracle, that guy.
Yeah, literally. No, or just no.
Watch the weather report.
Just watch weather.
Just knows what information to take in and what.
Yeah,
no secret to it.
It's a joy having him as a mate.
Yeah, fantastic guy.
Brilliant.
Talking of fantastic people, another one that you had on, I love this guy. The title of the episode is Leveling Up Leadership. Derry Holt, who leads a double life. He's gamifying recruitment.
Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Yeah. Derry Holt the commentator. So he's an esports gaming commentator.
What did I call it? iGame.
You're like, gaming talk or something.
Yeah,
you do some gaming talk and he was
like,
asking you about like
Pong.
Pong is. It's moved on a little bit since then. So this guy has again. Came to you as a very sort of early stage company, seeking advice and a bit of guidance. And what he's built out sounds like it's really, really taken off. I think they've just finished their third round of funding.
We were at the Union Club, and if you've ever been there, it's only for lovers. So people go there to do reading for films and shit. And I'm pleased that they let me still be a member, but they got paper table cloths, and I was saying, no, you don't want to do that, mate, this is what you want to do. And I was literally drawing on the tablecloth, and then they took a picture of it and fucked off, and I'm sure they thought, well, delete that, but they hadn't even started, and to see where they are today in their business is unbelievable. You can see that he's very comfortable speaking on air, because he's hosting events where there are like 30,000 people in a stadium, and it's one game at a time. So he has to learn how to master the game and understand the game and find all the hacks, and then talk about what good looks like, and then be able to be confident enough. And the only reason their business survived was the fact he was generating revenue by doing commentating globally on e-games, iGaming. Whatever it was.
Ultra Pong.
Yeah, but it was
every Ultra Pong tournament in the world.
I might have totally embarrassed myself because I didn't have a Scooby about what the fucking gaming.
But I wonder actually, and you brought some really good points about, like, because it could be seen as two separate things. Like, what's the correlation between e-gaming and esports and commentating got to do with the cool business that he's grown? But actually, when you look at it, like say, he has to understand the game, learn what best practice looks like, understand it intrinsically, and then be able to, I guess, reiterate what makes a gamer brilliant by talking about what they're doing. So therefore, if you can do that for a game, you must be able to do that in a business to your colleagues.
Yes, it was so his whole business was all about gamifying analytics, so making it something that people want to do and play with, so that you can actually have, like, every time you do a deal, there's cheer music, you have dials on so you can do comparisons, you can have league tables. Nobody wants to be last in a league, so it brings up the average performance level. I'm building one myself, called Sprinter, because of what Derry's done.
Yeah.
So again, he inspired me to do this. So Logan gave me the fucking rock up my arse, and Derry gave me the idea. So thank you, people. It was a really interesting one. But the reason I wanted to do it is just showing people that it's always important to have something else that you're doing that gives you a bit of oomph. If you're just doing the same thing day in, day out, you will get fatigued, you will get bored. If you're doing other things, new businesses all the time, and being creative, it just gives you more energy, but it also gives you different insight. So
also saved his ass.
Yeah.
Like if he didn't have that as a side hustle,
yeah,
the side hustle became the main breadwin lifeboat, didn't it?
Yeah.
By the sounds of it.
But he was he literally did show me up, and he gave you producer James, that he gave you your moniker,
my official title.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derry. Here's a clip.
Why did you want to start and found a business? And two, and you were there during that period of time when it was revolving doors at WeWork. So I've got a great idea, taking money off your dad, and then suddenly it's closed again, and somebody else has sat there who's done the same thing. So you were part of that community. How did you come up with the idea that, one, I want to do it, and then such a great idea, and then you delivered on a promise?
The real beauty in this is, I always say, if I was going to write a book, I would call it How Not to Build a Startup, or The Anti-Startup, or something like that, because every rule that is written about building a business, we did it wrong. Things like find a problem in the market, validate it, and build a solution they'll pay for. We built a solution that we thought sounded cool, and then tried to find a market to fit it. So very much did it back to front. You get told all the time, make sure you hire the right people. We hired a bunch of mates who weren't really fit for the role, to be honest with you. We paid for that in probably 2 or 3 years of mistakes and learning, and only then did things really start to kind of catch on and build up, right? So we went through the wars in the early days, and for me, honestly, the reason why we started it was just...
Shooty up wars?
Not quite.
BT up wars.
BT up wars, or racy wars. Yeah, racy wars. No, it was very much like... me and my co-founder were just really stubborn. We were like, I don't want to work a 9-5 for someone else. I just want to try and build our own thing. And our answer was build our own thing. And fun story that not too many knows, we actually set the business up initially as a game studio. We wanted to build video games. Interestingly, given our background as games developers, who knew? And it was kind of an inflection point where someone said to me, look, you can try and build games, but like being part of the accelerator we were on probably isn't really the place for us to be. We want to go into a creative place instead, which wasn't really my vibe. Or if you want to try and find a business that fits around your like passion around building games, let's do that. And that's where gamification of sales came together, and recruitment was where we just tended to land, and that's where it's been ever since.
Yeah, you got to say why recruitment.
Well, I think like everyone, we fell into it. That is the most said line I think in recruitment ever. Honestly, we pitched at our then accountants like startup awards once a year. They ran this kind of startup thing where you could pitch, win up to 20 grand, a bunch of business support, all this kind of good stuff. And in the audience was a recruitment company, PSR Solutions, based in Stafford, bless them. And just on Twitter the next day, I DM'd their account, just like, hey, can I speak to one of the directors? And I got into one of the interns who had the director sat right behind him. So we went in to go and speak to them. We kind of learned more about recruitment that way. We kind of realized, well, we could help them a little bit. Being honest with you, product was crap in those days. They were with us for 6 months and then left. But we'd already learned enough about recruitment at that point to keep on pushing in that direction. And so we stayed. And then, funny story, again, really closing the loop, 6 months ago, they came back and signed up for us again. And they've grown loads. We've grown loads. It's a really funny little small world when you think about it, when it works out that way.
So if you had any sort of clear goal, what is it that you want to do for recruitment?
What do I want to do for recruitment? I think every tech provider would probably say this, but just get away from the old, inefficient, horrible ways of doing things that consume hours and hours and hours every single week just to do. Like, it turns a little bit pitchy at this point, but if I speak to a number of recruitment companies who are doing things how they have done for a long time, there's managers or admin staff. A great example actually is one of the early pirates we spoke to. They had a team of 4 crunching numbers in the back office to then send out to managers so they could manage their team. And I was like, right, so you're asking managers to toss up these numbers, send it into the back office, have them compile it all together for a whole afternoon, and then send it back to you so you can manage the next day. You can't see in real time what's going on. And the answer was no. And I was like, well, that sucks. It was so horribly inefficient and no one could really do anything, that we thought, well, giving real-time access to information so people can manage more effectively, can coach, can motivate, that was where the drive really came from, I think, once we saw that problem, and that's where we still are today.
And then putting the gamification part to it. So it was a bit of fun. There was music playing, celebrations, which is all part of the whole sales piece. Yeah. You still never managed to actually get the pirate ships fighting.
You've asked me for that for years, and I've resisted you every single day.
So James, let me tell you, because this is a great pitch, right? James, the producer.
Producer James. You've got to call him Producer James. Okay. That's how this works.
Unbelievable.
So another brilliant person that you invited on this season, or the inaugural season or series of the podcast, was Holly Hull. We joked that we wanted tears from somebody, and we actually got tears from Holly, didn't we? She was very...
Well, we got tears and a song.
Yeah, we got tears, a song, and laughter.
Literally, we went through the whole roller coaster.
But I thought what was really interesting with Holly was, and it came through again and again, and obviously you're a testament to the brilliant service that she provides, but just the fact that she seemingly just very early on spotted what it was that brought her joy and just decided to make a business in the thing that she enjoyed. In a world where it's like, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life, which is kind of bullshit, but equally she's kind of done it, hasn't she?
I think that everyone's got a side hustle in their back pocket, and it depends. We talk about this sort of flaky snowflake generation and Generation X and Z. I'm not sure it's naturally true, but they don't seem to be wanting to work very hard at work, but they do seem to find things that they want to do outside of work. And I kind of get that, but unless they're doing things outside of work and they're being public and visible and vocal about it, their current company can't support them in it. So I don't mind if someone works for me and says, I'm trying to create a yogurt yogurt brand, or I'm trying to do some PT or breathing work with other people, I genuinely don't mind, because actually I think that they bring that sort of that natural energy of learning different things and bring it back into the workplace. It keeps them fresh. It keeps them with new ideas. They understand then how much it costs to run a business, and it's not a question of, I make you 600 grand a year, you should be paying me more money. They go, fuck me, 600 grand comes with bank, chasing debt, credit control, it comes with invoicing, it comes with all of the other shit that's associated, contract right, all of that stuff. It makes people better in the work environment. Holly's just a living sort of the pinnacle of what is possible. From saying she wasn't actually very good at work, but once she recognized something that she was really passionate about, she couldn't work enough. So I know Holly, she works 7 days a week. When she does a trip with us lot, she kind of gets us. So she's part of that sort of RDLC sort of posse.
The gang.
So she stays in the same place that we stay. She might have 300 people from, I can't say Harvard, I can't say Stanford, I can't say all these other great universities where they make their work, but that she works with some amazing universities to bring out their ski groups. She's absolutely worldy in what she does, and people want to work with her because they think about the next thing. So we're skiing, then we're going for lunch, and then we're doing this, where do we do that? We've got some people who can't ski, and she thinks about all of that stuff. I mean, she's omnipresent and never sleeps. She's a little bit like baby Jesus. So she's always there, and she's really good fun. And the whole gang, she's managed to create this whole culture and a business of people who are mini Hollies.
And they love what they do, don't they? You can see it in her LinkedIn post and her team. You can't fake that enthusiasm for what they do, whether it's at a beach or up a mountain or on a ski slope. You're like, these lot just embody
and also they are right on the cutting edge, bleeding edge of what is possible, because back in the day it was all about getting pissed on the piste, and now it's about doing good. So it's building wells, or doing good, or just helping build schools, or
big in ecotourism and stuff like
so doing cool stuff. And I think they've got multiple brands, so they can do the whole piece around let's go out and do conference, or let's go out and do party, or let's go out and do something good, or let's go out and be green. And her passion and energy for stuff is brilliant. She's just come back from my place in Ibiza with her girlfriends, and they went out with fanny packs and just basically were going to dance, and ended up I said, you can't do that. So they spent two nights in my house in Ibiza for gratis, because we love them dearly. And there was 3 birthdays, because she'll look after us when we go out, because that's what proper friendship and community builds.
I think this clip shows exactly the sort of person that she is in the business that she runs, and also, as you allude to in the question when you ask it to her, the tips that she gives to people who want to turn their hobby or their sort of their side hustle and their passion into their day job, their passion into their profit. She gives some really good tactical, practical advice. So here we go, Holly Holm.
For everybody who's got that business in their backbone, their hobby that they'd love to make some money from. What advice would you give to those people who are coming up with every bloody excuse in the world why they can't do it? And how do you turn your side hustle, how do you turn your hobby into a side hustle, into a business, into a future?
Okay,
Don't get this wrong.
No, I think pressure. I think I get really frustrated. I talk a lot about motivation because it's really important to me, and I think that I struggle with people who are always looking for someone to blame for the reason of their lack of success. And I actually used to be one of them. It was a long journey from losing my dad, which was a big thing in my life, to not blaming everything around me and playing the victim. And then the minute I started to actually work, like, everything happened. And I'm like, well, you just got to put a bloody effort in. Like, it's quite normal. Like, I used to be quite a big girl. I was a size 16, 18 at one point. My mum said to me, we're getting a bit chunky now, babes. And I didn't listen. I was like, no, it's not me. It's everyone else. I'm sad. And then I saw myself and I was like, right, I need to get to work.
Sorry, I was fighting back.
What?
I'm sad.
I'm so sad, I'm Ian.
Oh.
And it's but
I love you more.
But then I just got up and got off my ass and started running, and not only my mental health improved, but I got over my dad. I could compartmentalise, I could de-stress, and I lost a lot of weight, and that was me putting in the work. So ever since I learnt that lesson, I've applied that to everything I do. You're not going to get here
if you don't put in the work
by just kind of coasting around here. You got to hike, live in the mountains, corporate pigs.
I saw what you did there. Right, you mentioned Dad 3 times.
Sorry, I know.
No, because we're going to do that now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
I'm ready.
Yeah, okay. I was like, Steve Bartley makes people cry, so this is your moment. Cry. Right.
Yeah.
Dad's.
And I'll have a drink for this one.
Your dad sang, right? And
he did.
You talk a lot about it when we were. You sang at our
the
Roscas, and you were amazing. Stole the show. It was absolutely brilliant.
Never make a promise when you've had a drink. By the way, that's what happened.
Brilliant. Then nothing good happens after midnight.
No.
Good rules to live by. Tell us about your dad.
My dad I talk about him a lot because he was probably the biggest inspiration that I've ever had. He taught me the values, and he taught me how to appreciate everything around you. And even when stuff was crap, if you're able to see the good and still have passion for life and everything around it, then you're flying. And oh God, I'm going to get emotional now. But he died really tragically. It was on the news. It was on BBC. So it was quite a. Sorry.
No. My work is done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was horrible. So we went to Portugal. We had to look for him. It was big.
I know, you said the stories.
And I had one choice. It was like, right, I sit there, I get fat. I cry about it because I was sad. Or I do him proud. And I just when I got back from holiday the other day, I received in my inbox, I've just been shortlisted for Great British Entrepreneur of the Year. And, and my family were just like, your dad.
Be so proud.
Sorry.
Sorry.
But it's good, there's happy tears. It's something you have to go through in life to learn that you can't take money with you, but you have to have experiences, and that's kind of why the brand is the way it is.
Yeah, I think your dad would massively be impressed with what you've done, but actually of you as a person, because you take stuff properly seriously, and you're great fun to be around and with.
Serious.
No, I think you're a gorgeous person inside and out. So
I think it's important for you too. That's why it gets me annoyed when people have those excuses that I can't succeed. I think a big part of it is obviously consistency and effort, but I feel like you've got to love what you do. What is the point in? I mean, he was 52 years young. He was fit as a fiddle, and it just happened like that. And I think that why spend your life moaning? Get on with it. Do what you've got to do, but be passionate as well. And I do think that's important. You have to love what you do, and I absolutely love. And I think we bore people on LinkedIn. All of our team are like, my job's amazing. It's hard work. The sales are hard. Obviously, we go out there. We've got to do all the business events, but we get to live the best life. We get to see people have the best experiences of their lives. People that wouldn't necessarily be able to afford to do these trips, that go with their work, and they are blown away.
She's good, right?
She was good, yeah.
And she totally believes in it, right? That you can't. I mean, during that whole episode, she wears her heart on her sleeve, and she truly believes in what she's doing, and that belief and passion just ebbs through.
She's just got a warmth about her as well. You just, as soon as you meet her, you're like, I've never met you, but I like you. Like straight away, I just like you.
Yeah, and you just trust in her.
Yeah.
With all that she's doing. So look, I'm a massive Holly fan, but I think people need to talk to her before they start going through looking at price of holidays and doing bare minimum, because it's all about building memories.
Yeah.
Always about building memories. Will you remember that trip? It was like, we had to pay for our own pizzas. Or we turned up somewhere and we're in a VIP place, and we turned up and everyone had, fondue and the champagne was going. You'll remember that moment, not the fact that you were sat with the great unwashed having a pizza, right? So it's on the mountain. So that's the difference. And the difference between a memory and being there
in
real life is 25% more buy into the business, and people don't get that. It's not the price of something.
You can't
it's
tangibly,
the
yeah, which you can't tangibly put a price on, but actually there is intrinsic value in that, isn't there?
Yeah, so we just learned the lesson of making memories, not basically just looking at costs.
Yeah. Talking of other fantastic ladies in your life, seriously. I absolutely love this episode. So you had your daughter Lula come on and interview you.
I don't know which one you. I don't know which point.
No, I didn't. I actually didn't.
Going with this,
anyone who wants to, any of Gary's pals or friends or enemies, of which I know there are numerous amounts of all of the above. If you want to see Gary get put under the cosh for a full hour. 1 hour, 3 minutes and 42 seconds to be precise. The title of it is How to Lose £1 Million the Fastest. Daughter Turns the Tables. But I've actually just picked a good bit of your insight because I think, again, she drew that out of you as well.
Well, I have no idea. Where are we going with this? The fact that I pissed myself in the Eiffel Tower, how I turn a big fortune into a small one, Gary's investment.
I've saved you from that. I loved her analogy, though. How do you take a small fortune? You start with a big one and give it to my dad to invest. And you didn't even argue it either. You just went, yeah, that's fair. But she was talking to you about, and this is really interesting, she was talking to you about why you don't believe in work from home.
Oh, it's bullshit.
But obviously she's from a generation where that's been sort of like taught in schools and becoming the norm and becoming acceptable, as she obviously works within sort of the mental well-being space and the personal and professional development space. So work from home.
Well, so Lula was part of that very unfortunate generation, and there were people going through O levels, A levels, and she was going through first year of university, first and second year, when you were having to learn from home. It did mean, and I will call people out, so at the University of Newcastle, all of the lecturers started to produce very long format videos of all of the subject material that encompassed that part of the syllabus, as opposed to doing it in piecemeal, which is the way that people learn. So learn something small, put it into a practical application, then learn something again. And they were basically saying, here's everything.
Here's a 5-hour video. Good luck.
Good luck. And all the other kids and the young adults who were going through that process were looking at it saying, fuck me, how on earth are you doing that? And Lula learns in community. It's just that how, she's really good at that. And she's always been A star, A star, A star, A star, A star. Put her in that environment when she's having to do it by herself and it just doesn't work. Put that in, but she absolutely shone right because she's so dedicated to work and so dedicated to herself, and she's got really good business practice and personal discipline. I would have failed instantly. Put that into a modern work environment. So if you've got somebody who's trying to teach you how to do a skill or a task remotely, how do I hear you practicing it? How do I hear you trying it? How do I hear what you're doing that's wrong? Also work from home. Once you get to a certain level of seniority as like a billing manager or a manager, people might have days in, days out, days in, days out. You have to be there every day. So your reward for getting a senior role in the company is never working from home.
Yeah. Congratulations, you get less.
So why don't you just take it away from fucking all of them? Because the people who need it most are the rookies. The people who need it less are the most senior people. And the people who need it the least of all are people who are independent recruiters who are just doing their own thing. Just take the fucking thing away and just say, we work together as a community. By doing that, we'll earn more money. If you need to be doctors, if you need to pick up your puppy, if you need to pick up mum from the airport, of course, as long as you're on target, you do pretty much what the fuck you want, as long as you're working from home.
It's almost like a reward rather than a given.
It's always a reward. It's always a reward. It's never a given. So that's how life works in the grand scheme of things. It's I'm not paying my mortgage this month because it's a bit rainy, wasn't it? Right.
don't think the bank accepts that as an excuse.
They don't accept that as an excuse. So I think work from home is the worst thing that ever happened to this country, not just our sector. I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened. And people say, yeah, but we deserve it. Look, if you work in the back office and you're just doing a mundane task, right, let's face facts, and it's just like doing a set number of things, as long as we can say, as long as you do 150 of those in a day, couldn't give a shit. But we need to know that 150 is possible. Or actually, if in office and you really worked your tits off, you could do 200. You want to work at home, I want 200. Or actually, you're not doing the travelling, I want 250. Now that's more the way the world works. But she just called me out on the fact that I work from home.
Yeah.
Press play. Let's get this over and done with, because literally I've got no fucking argument, but my job's different. Press play.
Commitment to business culture is something that you talk about a lot. It's one of the reasons people move jobs. It's one of the reasons that people are loyal to businesses. You've talked before about your opinions on remote working.
Shit.
Yeah. Okay. So I would like it if you would first explain why, please.
You've been very gentle with me. But personally, I can't do it.
Okay.
And I think I'm pretty much a self-starter. I can get up, I can work, I can graft, but not working around people, I think, is actually soul-destroying. You don't work as hard. You never learn from other people. You don't laugh.
Yeah.
And I just need, I think I work better when people smile and laugh.
Yeah.
I think we all work better when we're in an element of competition. And having that collective of people who are all working and striving towards a common goal, that commonality is really, really brilliant. So working from home, I think, is actually really bad for the soul. And we're not that type of being. We're animals. We're basically used to being in herds and being around each other. So the idea of people working well independently, it just goes against the grain for me. Also, if you're trying to grow a business, how do you teach somebody that's new? So there's a total disconnect that if you get to a certain level of seniority, you have to be in the business because you're coaching and nurturing juniors. So it disincentivizes people to take that role of more seniority, to get paid more, because you have to go to work more.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the rookies have to come into work, the seniors have to come into work, and that middle tier of people just are dossing around and never actually attaining their full potential. So take it away from everybody, and I would prefer people who didn't want to come to work didn't join.
Right, okay. So you've had the RDLC for 8 years now? And obviously you have your business lunches and things.
Yeah.
But when was the last time that you personally worked in an office space with other people?
Yesterday.
No, I mean like full time, because generally speaking, you work remotely at least half the time. You're at least a hybrid worker. It's okay.
My job is different. So the nature of my business is I go into other people's businesses. I sit with them, help them in their business. I would be better if I worked in an environment.
Yeah.
But I'm on trains, planes, automobiles. I'm absolutely everywhere. So where would my office be?
Okay.
So effectively, I do work out of home house. I am around people. I could work from home, but I prefer to be at home house or a club, somewhere where there's other people around me. At least then I get someone to show off to and try to be good.
Well, I was going to say that, I mean, to the outside, you do seem like you're not working, you're not preaching you're not practicing what you preach, so to speak. But also you are interacting with people through LinkedIn, aren't you? So I suppose in that way, that's your way of maintaining that culture that you're trying to grow.
I'd love to be the mountain that Mohammed comes to and everyone comes to me.
Yeah.
But again, the gig doesn't work that way. But being around people, but when I work in businesses and they have all their staff in and they've made that de facto, they do better.
Yeah.
Just end of story. They just do better. And I think people we talk about mental health all the time these days, probably too much in my opinion, but the idea is that you bring people together and their mental health is so much better. And you can actually see
Dave's not well today, he's stressed, I can do something about that. You don't really get that vibe when then Dave's at home watching Loose Women.
So there you go, grilled, served up on a platter, really fought the corner from not having work from home, at which point she switches on you and says, but don't you work from home? Your excuse, yeah, but my job's different.
My body language is telling you everything.
Yeah, exactly. Right, final clip that we're going to talk about then in this roundup best of for this first season. Your good pal, Bill Bottrell. Again, another one of your pals who came in with such humility and just such a great sense of humour about it and was just really keen to do it and just had a good laugh for you. When I'm like Googling the guy after, I'm like, oh, gee, he like owns chunks of football clubs and he owns like, he's been a very, very successful man, but he's just very, Boris Becker was his neighbour and commentated Wimbledon from it, which comes up in the full episode as well, which I thought was fascinating. But this final clip that we're going to play, I thought this was super interesting because again, people who've been through any sort of business journey, but especially I guess in a micro of an industry like recruitment, when I mention I'm working with you, if someone's in recruitment, they're like, oh, fuck me, Gary. Do you know Gary and Dean? I'm like, yeah, I know Gary and Dean. Yeah, nice fellas. They're like, they walk on water in these sorts of parts. But and again, there's this sort of perception of people who've done well at a certain level that they're always done well and everything's all fucking rosy the whole time. But what the clip you're about to hear with Bill is that yes, he's been super successful. Yes, he's made some fantastic investments. Yes, he's created some amazing businesses. But there's been a lot of failures along the way to have a few big wins, which I thought was a really important message to get out there.
I get on very well with Bill and his family, but we spend Christmases together. We spent New Year together. I'm kind of surrogate family. We always talk about there's always someone with a bigger boat. So I had a good boat, Bill had a bigger boat, and every time we're in Cannes, there's always a fucking bigger boat. So there's levels of success. So Bill to me is everything, the sweetest song that I could sing, oh baby. So he's the he's the Don. I think what's that humility. So we talk about Oscar as well, the horse he owned, who was right up there in the Derby, and he doesn't talk about. I said, Bill, you seem to be doing well. You've had 2 horses, both of which seem to be like champion horses. He goes, I didn't tell about the 12 other ones that ended up being Finders fucking lasagnas, right? So I don't talk about that.
At the pedigree
and then we talked about conversion rates. So if you're working with businesses as startups, the fraction that actually make it through to being successful. If you're talking about businesses that are scale-ups, it's still fractional. If you're talking about big businesses and you're talking about Series 3, Series C, D, at that point, you're never going to get your rate of return and nobody's really interested in it. So he's basically just calmed himself down. So Bill, and he's investing 50 grand here, 50 grand there, 50 grand here, 50 grand there, and knowing that, some of
20's going to do something.
Right. So I met the guy who bought the Trafford Centre. So he actually took the cobblestone from what was the old Trafford Centre and put them into my house in Cheshire. And we were talking about my house, and then we ended up finding out that he was a big investor. But he was investing in universities. I said, what's your hit rate? He goes, oh, well, if it's outside of universities, it's 1 in 7. If it's in universities, it's 1 about 17. But when it goes for 1 in a university, it'll go for 100, 200 times. Right. It's just massive. But, you still have to put your investment in, and your capital is always, your ass is always hanging out. And I just thought it was quite interesting to show people that, the Bill puts really big money into Spurs every year just to see if they can win, but they don't. But this is Bill. I'm guessing this is the clip. This is Bill just saying, I don't know what to come off.
Yeah, more than a few don't come off, as you hear.
So, what percentage of investments do you get a decent rate return from? What do you think is a fair return? 1 in 3, 1 in 2.
Oh no! I've actually put a quite a lot of very small investments in a number of companies, and when you do early stages, and in fact most of them don't work out, and it's a bit like gambling and bets. I mean, we only talk about our winners, and which and never mention when you've lost.
No,
I did invent one of the funniest ones I ever did was a thing called Ice Space. Which was
I remember Ice Space.
Which was
it was in the shadow of Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge, and they imported, I think, how many 2 billion tons of ice from Canada, and we had ice sculptures and ice thing or whatever. And I would say I invested about 2 weeks after I'd had an armed robbery in my house, so I think my brain was a little bit frazzled, and that one actually melted. It didn't work. It didn't work.
That was quite expensive to keep it going as well.
Yeah. It was. It didn't. It probably wasn't that environmentally friendly now when I think back about it as well.
No.
But so that was. I'm not going to say about all my mistakes, but there are many of them.
Yeah, but I just think people need to understand if you're an investor, you have to be able to lick your wounds occasionally and know when it hasn't.
Can we talk about your tattoos? Because you have got that one, my mum's quote that I give him, and one of his tattoos is "Spend and God will send," which my lovely Irish mother taught me.
But to be fair, it was an homage to you, and I've lived by it ever since. So I'm living like a billionaire, and I certainly haven't got those sort of funds.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Yes, he doesn't send as much as he might.
No, I wish I did. You don't talk about the other one, which I do love, Nouveau Riche. Keeping it real with the fam. What's next?
So we've had lots of tales of people who've done amazingly well, some insights and some wisdoms from people who've won big. How about we flip it on its head for this next one, though, with Trevor Stevens?
Well, it's really hard to say that Trevor hasn't done well. I mean,
he has, isn't he?
Yeah. He was in that game when Maradona basically took everybody on twice.
Yeah.
And I'm steaming up here. Took everybody on twice. And
was it the Hand of God?
No, it wasn't
match?
that one. But
Okay.
it's the one where Terry Butcher put the ball in the back of the net, but it would have been the best own goal of all time.
Right.
But they gave it to Maradona.
So he has done well.
He has done well.
He did do well, but there was still a pivotal point.
We talk about Alex.
Yeah.
Oh, this is brilliant. I mean, I didn't know this story, and I know Trevor for ages. He came to my 40th and gave me one of the England shirts from that game.
Oh, really?
So he's been a mate for ages. So he turned down Alex Ferguson because Alex had never won anything and wasn't playing European football. So he went to Rangers.
Rangers instead.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Fuck me. I mean, talk about making a wrong one. You can turn left or right. And then he phoned Alex up and basically just said, Alex, I'm not going to join.
As you hear in the clip, he just slams the phone down on him and don't speak to him for 20 years until they bump into each other at a charity match.
Yeah, and then pretend nothing has happened. It was just really, 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 really funny. So let's watch this one because that made me laugh. We did a bit of homework here, and I asked some of my friends about the best story that know about you. I still think the best one, the one that makes me laugh the most, is the fact that you turned down Alex Ferguson because you thought he hadn't won anything.
Yeah.
Could you just elaborate?
Well, I was. I've got to take you back to the last century, of course, Gary. It's been the distant past. 1989. I was 25-year-old, and I'd been at Everton 6 years, and it came to the point of I needed a change. And at that time, we were banned from Europe because of the hooligan element, within our game. And the Heysel disaster in 1985. By 1989,
keep it light, mate.
We were still banned. For God's sake, right? So anyway, I go to tell the Everton coach that I'm going. He says, "Okay, right, you got to go." My choices: Alex Ferguson or Graham Souness, right? Graham was up at Rangers. Alex Ferguson was at Man United. So I went to see Alex Ferguson on the Monday. This was just end of season. Go across there, talks to me about Old Trafford, talks to me for hours. Never mentioned money, by the way, right? Just shrewd Scot, right? He's selling the badge, selling the dream of Manchester United. So anyway, when I left, I thought I'm going to have to sign for Man United, albeit I wasn't getting European football, and I could still live in the same house that I was in when I was playing for Everton, Northwest. Yeah. So I thought, not much of a change, really. But he's impressed me, But maybe I'll do that. But I did tell him I have to go and see Graham Souness up in Glasgow the following day. I promised, and he said, right, okay, off you go." So anyway, I went up to Rangers, and they sort of gave me, literally almost Edinburgh Castle. They gave me everything, to go there, and I had to make
European football.
And European football. And half the England team was there as well at the time. So I thought, I've got to do this, got to stay. And because I'm from the northeast of England, almost Scotland, right, Berwick-upon-Tweed, I thought this is the natural move. But of course, this all leads to a phone call with Alex Ferguson that I'm going to have to tell him.
How scared were you?
Oh, one of those, you know. Oh, walk around the room, you know. Anyway, I picked it up. I remember it was like the Wednesday afternoon, and I'd seen Graham on the Tuesday. And I said to Graham that I'd sleep on it. You know, I'm signing. And anyway, on the Wednesday, I rang him. Alex, Mr. Ferguson, it's Trevor Stephen here. And you could tell in the tone of my voice. I said, "Sss," and he went, down. Like that. No explanation, no nothing. Clatter, phone down. That was it. And I turned to my wife at the time and I, is that the shortest phone call you've ever heard? Right?
You didn't even get the word
Didn't
out.
even have a comment, didn't even say anything. You just knew. You know. And that was it. And off I went to Glasgow Rangers. Now, he did not talk to me because he holds a grudge. He's a bit like yourself. You know, you haven't spoken to me for a long time. What did I do? What did I do to you? He holds a grudge. That was 1989. I hadn't spoken to him. I became a football agent at one point in my life as well. And so I couldn't take a player to Manchester United because
you could take him out, though.
Yeah, well, possibly. But I wouldn't do that. So I eventually get an opportunity to speak to him. I was at the 2002 European Cup final where Zidane, you know, scored that amazing goal, the left-footed volley into the top corner to win it for Real Madrid. And we're at a table like this, hospitality. Who sat back to back with me?
No.
Right, when he pushed his chair out, he banged my chair, right? So I thought, who's going to be the bigger man? Who's going to be the bigger man?
The 18th time.
Who's going to be the bigger man? So I thought, I'll go and do it. Honestly, put a hand on his shoulder. He looked up. It was as if it had never happened. Shut up, give it a bit of that, cuddle. How are you doing? How's things? Everything good? Everything good? And I said, I'm sorry. He said, it's football. It's football. You know?
Oh.
So, not that we're...
So you didn't get the hairdryer, you didn't get the hard time.
Not that we're bosom buddies at all, but I have met him several times since, and he's always like, you know, I played for him, but I never did. I custard pied him, actually.
That is brilliant. And isn't it cool that Trevor's gone on to do all the work around mental health in construction? I mean, you wouldn't put the two things together, but he's such a lovely boy, and he can use his football knowledge and the fact that people like football with all the lads on site, lads, to actually get there and do something good as well. So
yeah, lovely guy.
He's a lovely guy. So,
I wonder how many people have turned down Sir Alex Ferguson and still done so well.
Yeah. Not many.
Probably quite a few. Probably only a few, I imagine. Yeah. Right, final clip of this first season. Guy Bartlett. Now, this was an interesting Guy Batchelor, sorry. Yeah. Who's Guy Bartlett? I don't even know who he is.
Stephen's brother.
Yeah, it's got him on the flipping brain. So when Guy turned up, it was quite interesting because you're like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about this. You do your normal thing, you hug people, and he looks intensely uncomfortable. You're like, right, so this is what we're going to do, brother. I'm going to talk to you about this, that, and the other. I can't talk about it. He went, oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about this. Yeah, I can't talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about you doing the close protection stuff. No, I can't talk about that. It's like,
it was quite funny.
You were like, fuck. He went off to the talk. You're like, fuck me, this is going to be a challenging one. But what some brilliant insights that he shared, even though he couldn't share anything.
It was quite so. Special forces and the way the world is at the moment, everyone's being very protective and they can't really talk about it.
Yeah.
But he was talking specifically about. Because he got as high as you can get in the special forces.
Yeah.
You know the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
TLA, 3-letter abbreviation. And when you're out, absolutely, in war zone, doing stuff, you have a plan, you try to execute that plan, and it never comes off because things change. And you have to be trained within an inch of your life to be able to do what is best next. Because if you get it wrong, you die.
There is no next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was really interested in the way he talked about that and being agile. It's a little bit like Mike Tyson, isn't it? Everyone has a plan to get smashed in the face.
Yeah.
And he's really cool about that. And he took his shirt off. And I didn't see that coming.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Do you remember that? I just said, what if you had to know
decent back for a man of his age.
I know.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, no, he had frightened the life out of me at Wimbledon once and says, sir, you got to go, make it easy on yourself. This exit. I'm going, what the fuck? So he's a big unit of a man. So nice to know there's people like that defending our country.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're wondering who's on I'd rather him be on my side than the other team. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Should we look?
Let's have a look.
we were taking responsibility for our own decisions and our own part of the battle. And he turned around, he said, right, I'm going on leave. He said, ring me if, the only time I want to be rung is if one of the operators dies. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And he left there, he went on his summer holiday, and the whole thing rolled on like a machine. And he came back and he was like, right, bring me up.
So in the middle of the war, your commander-in-chief goes on holiday?
Yeah, well, he was a...
They didn't do that in WW1 or WW2, did they? They didn't pop away for a weekend.
Yeah, no, they didn't. But, well, I think they probably did. They all needed downtime. But, it was a really interesting time because, you never would have expected that something where it was so politically sensitive, there was a lot on the line where, a commander of that level would have just said, right, I'm happy with what's going on.
So I can't fathom that, right? Because I had an office above Hamlet's and my window opened onto Regent Street. And I thought I shouldn't be in charge of that window and it should be permanently locked because I could just shut myself out and no one's going to say no. So being responsible for... I'm not really happy for being responsible for myself at that level. But these guys are being responsible for themselves and others.
Yeah, and that's what I think, that selection of the team. We always come back to this sort of selection of the team and empowerment. And, I was reading one of your podcasts, one of your articles the other day, and you were talking about counter-offering when people decide to leave. And you used a really brilliant term. You said, if someone wants to leave the tribe, let them leave. And that's... It seems really straightforward, but actually it's such a powerful statement because, none of us ever wanted to leave the tribe. We always wanted to be in it, and that's what you need to conjure, because I've said to you before, and I know we probably disagree on this at some level, but I don't believe people do stuff for money. I believe people do it for empowerment, how they feel, being part of a team, responsibility. There are a lot of things above just pay that people enter into careers for. And I think if you can get that sweet spot in any team, whether it be military or business, then it's powerful and you're going to succeed.
He's a man mountain, isn't he? He's a proper dude.
A gentle giant, but could probably snap you in half.
But he's one of those people that, if you're going to go into into forces, you want to get in special services. You want to get in special services. You want to get as high as you can go. If you want to get a business in the public sector, looking after all the tennis pros while they're in Wimbledon and all celebrities, that's about as high as it gets.
A man who climbs every ladder to the very top of it.
Yeah, and he's so driven, so on focus.
Very calm dude as well. They're very
Yeah, he will kill you.
Yeah.
But he'll be okay.
But you'll have a lovely time doing it. You won't even know. Just feel like a big cuddle and then you'll sleep for eternity.
But I know you're really proud of my series one.
I think it's very good.
It's all right there for a first attempt. From the first one when I was actually shitting myself with Dean and actually really didn't have a clue about what was going on.
You threw yourself into the lion's den with that one as well, didn't you, to be fair? Like, how are we going to go from publicly listed companies to conspiracy theories to clouds in the sky? He was the first person to ever be the, what do I say, victim or recipient? Let's call him a recipient of one of your poems. Some would say victim, some would say recipient.
Yeah.
I was like, he's never going to be able to do this for every episode. With a little bit of help with ChatGPT.
Shut up.
You've done it all. So, but more to come. So this is just the end of season 1.
We're straight on to season 2. So we're filming here today, and well, I think we might have finished season 2
before this even comes out.
Season 1, yeah. So it's joyful. So we've got 4 more today.
I remember you said to me you want it to be a mixture of Tier 5 Friday.
Yeah.
From back in the 90s meets like a Chris Evans breakfast show meets Bartlett.
Yeah.
Do you think?
And the Josh Rogan hat now because I've had my hair done in between. So
it's Joe Rogan. You keep saying Seth Rogen. He's the stoner. Are you saying stoner Seth Rogen or Joe Rogan the podcast?
No, Joe Rogan the podcast.
Bit of both.
Oh shit. Yeah, so it's gone really well. So thank you, brother, for all of the effort that we put into. Thank you, people, for watching and making this the success it is. I'm smashing it in Germany, apparently. So
56. You were the 56th funniest person in Germany last week. So
just behind the, I guess. Right.
Oh, fucking hell.
Right. Thank you.
See you in season 2.
Yeah. Bye.